It's See Something, Say Something. Candress and Cindy are two therapists aiming to demystify therapy and pull the curtain on the people who are conducting your session.
Surprise, surprise. Therapists are people too. Listening as we giggle, chat about culture, navigating life experiences, discussing the things we like, and mental health.
Well, guys, I will say this has been a little bit of it's honestly not that long time coming, but it actually makes a lot of sense. Like, I feel like when we first came up with the idea, we were just like, we knew we had to do something together, but we didn't know what it was.
I feel like it was free-flowing. I think it was, so I feel like it has been a long time coming if we think about before we met each other.
Sure.
But then we put it on each other's radar, and when we were like, oh, we're going to be the duo who does it, we got it done.
I mean, when we decided that, like, okay, that's what we're going to do. Because I feel like when we first met each other, it was kind of like, girl,
we're meant to do something together, but
because
what is
we
it?
instantly clicked, but then it was also like, whatever we're doing right now is just not going to cut it.
It's not going to cut it. It's not cutting it. Yeah.
It's not, but y'all didn't hear that from us. Anywho, so then when we started like chatting, you know, it just became natural, and then we were like, a podcast. Well, you already low-key had an idea of a podcast like for yourself, and I'd always kind of like floated around it, but I always have lots of ideas and they just don't happen.
Yeah, bringing it to life and making it come into fruition is the hard part. And I had so many people that I had discussed it about, but nothing ever happened. It's kind of like when you text that friend and it's like, oh, well, let's do something, and you never do anything. But with you and I, it was like, no, this is going to become reality. Like, this is like actually something that is reachable for us. And it happened. I feel like it happened pretty quick.
Girl, so quick, guys.
We're in a studio, guys.
Like, we're in a studio, a pink studio. I mean, and it's crazy because it's like we really started like conceptualizing this and putting it together like a couple months ago, and then like before you know it, like we're actually here and making it happen. So I'm very proud of us. So,
I am too.
Yeah, welcome to See Something, Say Something.
Claps
Stay
and
for
snaps.
the ride.
Yes, guys.
We got lots
so
to chat
much
about.
growing to do together. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes.
Yes,
Coming
ma'am.
from the vegan, that's actually insane.
She is a vegan, but I be eating that meat though. Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
switching gears. Oh, so what do you have prepared for us, Cindy? What are we doing in this episode?
So this episode is really going to be called The Intake, which is, you know, funny because that is the first thing that happens in a therapy session when you meet your therapist. It's all about getting to know each other, building rapport, building a sense of, you know, relationship.
Yeah.
And also kind of gathering some history and
Yes.
getting into all of that stuff and kind of figuring like, okay, what is your story pretty much?
This is where we build the foundation.
Yeah, and so we figured that this would be an important first episode to really be able to come together and let y'all know who Cindy and Candress really is.
Yeah.
And like, you know, kind of set you up for like what this is going to be and set us up to kind of figure out like what this is going to be.
Right. There's so many. What I love is we're not in a box. Although there's like things that we can highlight, like there's so many directions we can go. So this is really exciting to not feel limited and just like really go with the creative process.
Exactly. And I mean, we are two Black therapists, but we also just happen to be therapists. It's not our entire identity. And so that's really what I love about it, because the box and limit does not exist. We have lots to chat about.
Yeah, we're cool girls. We love to giggle and gaggle. We love the fashion, the hairs. We love it all.
The beauty. The arts, the culture. Yes. So that's a chat about. So,
Yes.
what kind of got you, I guess, to kind of like get people to know a little bit more about your story and like why you decided to become a therapist? Like, girl, what brought you here?
It's so funny because I had so many things that I wanted to become, and this is something I kind of stumbled upon. So honestly, I went to school to become a journalist because I knew that I was meant to be on the TV. And I was like, this personality, I was either going to be a star, so like a singer. That's a whole nother day. And so I went to school, literally first semester, academic probation, and I talked to my mom, and she was like, you should become a therapist. You're so good at it. You're always helping people. And she's like, you might as well get paid for it. And so that kind of became like my goal. I always said that I wanted work to feel like it wasn't work. Like I just wanted to do something that came natural to me. And so what really like tied it in for me was I was in a human development and family studies class, and we watched Blue Valentine. Oh my gosh. It has Ryan Gosling in it and Carrie something. I can't remember her name. Sorry, girl. Love you. And it was so good. And the class was so good. And I was like, I want to be an LMFT. So a licensed marriage and family therapist, because I always felt like I had a very supportive family and a very privileged upbringing, and I just knew that there was people who did not experience that, and I did not realize that until I got to college. I was like, whoa, we weren't all brought up the same way. Like, it was really eye-opening for me. And so I wanted to do, like, this whole thing. My mission has always been exposure and education. So exposing people to that and educating them that, like, although that might not have been where you came from, it can be where you go. And so just, like, as a progression of, like, out-of-school jobs and, like, internships, like, I did like a lot of foster care and stuff like that. And then eventually I just became a therapist. So I tried to do a lot of it just with like my bachelor's. And then I was like, okay, if I need to make the big bucks, like I have to get licensed. So I put it off. So now I'm a therapist, but here's the gag, everybody. This is the gagiana. So as me being in therapy, because therapists go to therapy too, that's what's make us a great therapist. This is all a trauma response, guys. I'm a people pleaser, or was a people pleaser, and I was in a space where I was not healed or aware yet, and so the putting people before me and just trying to manage other people's problems instead of mine was really just a form of me being avoided, and just a lot of stuff that I was not aware of. So now I'm trying to make therapy what I want it to be and make this like a career or a position that makes sense for me while still being healthy and creating boundaries and limitations as well, and not spreading myself thin and still taking care of myself.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me. What about you, Cindy?
I love hearing your story, your origin story.
My origin story. What about yours?
So I originally was in school. I was like really working hard, y'all. And I also got on academic probation. Like, bro, so many things. To become a speech language pathologist. So I was like very into language, very into culture. I was like, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to heal. Then I was like not getting into the program. Then like I got out of undergrad, graduated with a human development and family studies degree.
Same.
Yeah, like same. I went through a women's studies class, which I really freaking loved because it was just kind of talking about culture, systems and things from like a different approach. And I feel like that kind of like shaped my like view as a therapist, because, you know, now I'm very into like becoming your most authentic self. I love womanhood, sisterhood, being able to affirm people. Like that's my whole thing. But I didn't know it. So like when I had not like the narrow straight was not happening with speech language pathology, I had like, you know, my last effort was like trying to shadow this speech language pathologist in a kind of like an elderly home setting. Girl, I fell asleep. She
said, I'll see you in my dreams.
I'll see you in my dreams. And they were like doing a lot of repetitive things. It just wasn't working out. So that was my first indicator. I was like, okay, this isn't for you. What are you going to do? And then, I don't want to put my family on blast, but something happened with a family member.
It's too soon.
It's too soon. It's the first episode. Something happened with a family member. Basically, it felt like he was forced to do something in his life. And I could just tell it was like eating away at him. But he went through with the decision anyways, and it ended up not in his favor. And so, like, for some reason, that moment connected me to be like, girl, you do not want to be a speech language pathologist. Yes, the money is there, but also, like, that's ultimately not really what you want to do. You want to be able to connect with people. You want to be able to help people see themselves, become the most authentic selves, also feel, like, validated, supported, and ultimately help them be able to realize, like, they could be anything they want to be, which I feel like is something I didn't necessarily get as a child.
Yes.
And so, like, being able to, like, be that person who felt safer for someone to be able to process some of these things, like, get to the next level was, like, a huge thing for me. So I was listening to this one podcast, shout out to them, Black Girl in Ohm, like one of my very first podcasts I like really got into as a young woman. They brought in all different types of creators, healers, spiritual, you know, people that were into like all different types of stuff. And they would just kind of talk about the process of like healing themselves. They brought in therapists. Like I really, really loved just like the way they spoke to each other. It was very uplifting. It was storytelling. It was just beautiful. And so from there I was like, I want to be a part of this. Like I want to be a person who helps people to kind of like see themselves. Yeah. And then I made the switch. So I kind of fell into it too. It wasn't like necessarily like what I thought it was going to be, but like you, like I wanted something that felt like organic to me, normal. I don't want to feel like I'm working that hard now. Although like I have found myself working hard in other ways.
Same.
Yeah. But the work itself, like sitting in a room with someone, that comes easy to me. And so, yeah, that's kind of a little bit about how I got here. I really also wanted to work with like young, you know, Black and brown girls who look like me and being able to like help them get to the next level. Because I didn't really have, you know, I didn't have that. I didn't grow up with older sisters. I had a lot of cousins and things. So I feel like this was another way for me to kind of get to that and like be able to pour into like a sense of community.
Yeah.
So, you know, here we are.
I love that. My population always changed. So
For sure.
I always said kids because
no.
I felt like if we are able to address things, then we could have like great adults in the world. And baby, these kids changed.
Gen Z not playing with y'all.
I was like, I'm changing too. So yeah, I always said kids, and then I was like families, and I was like parents, and so those things always kind of showed up in like some of the positions I had. But now I'm working with like young adults and adults as well because I work in private practice as well, and so. Still, I don't think like one speaks to me more than the other. I feel like what I want to do right now is get experience with everybody,
right?
Just so that I can be thrown into any situation and be successful.
Pretty much the same thing with me. I feel like, I mean, I have worked with children. I worked with children for a long time, but like they kind of wore me out.
Same.
And low-key play therapy was not my thing. Like it was cool, it was fun, but it wasn't like, I was like, what am I doing with these kids? So then I was like, all right.
I'm being played.
I'm being played, or are you playing with me? Like, what's going on? So then I did adults. I was working with like people who were like 60 to people who were like in their early 20s. And I feel like I connected with honestly everybody. And, you know, I really, at first when I started therapy, I was like, oh, I want to work with like Black people, also like Nigerian people across the diaspora. Like I thought that would be very, very cool because we don't talk about it enough. Diaspora. But then it wasn't really like, it's not that it wasn't taken off. I just feel like that's, you know, another lane for another day. And I feel like at some point my like niche will kind of like go more there. But right now I'm learning about everything and being open to everybody and just like enjoying that as well, because the whole point was to connect with people, and I feel like I'm getting a chance to do it and also like be authentic and make therapy feel accessible. That's low-key my biggest thing.
Same.
Like, because people should not be paying as much as they're paying, and like also we should also be getting paid, but it's the system. So
the system. And also like showing people that therapy can look different, because media really has made therapy look like something
like we're just sitting
completely different. And then also just us being minorities. It's not something that's gonna, this might not make the cut. But I always remember there was a quote. Somebody said that therapy was the white man's greatest like secret weapon. And that's so true, because think about in like the African American culture, and I'm sure other minorities, there's a lot of like secret keeping.
Right.
And like, don't tell nobody what happened. Like, this stays within these four walls.
Or else you appear weak. Now you're telling my business.
You're telling my business. Yeah. And then these problems just like basically fester and just become a norm for you. And then you don't realize like you have a voice and you're allowed to speak on things and get assistance and advocate for yourself. And just because this was the norm or what, you know, your parents might have been brought up with, like, that's not what has to continue. Like, we can all learn and develop.
Oh my gosh. And I actually really love that, because I feel like one of the biggest things for me specifically, like coming out of a Nigerian household, girl, it was like, you're not allowed to tell anybody anything, and also you're not suffering, and also everything looks beautiful, and also like you're fine.
Yeah.
I really wasn't fine. So I feel like that was another reason kind of coming into this, like to be able to help people recognize like it's okay for you to need a little bit more support than just like, and no shade, no tea, because also religion is important, but just like praying only and like that being the only thing. And also it can be both, right? You can use both. And also like God created therapists.
And God created emotions.
Yeah.
And that's also another thing, because that's kind of why I went into therapy too. Like, my parents are hyper religious. Hey, mom and dad. And so there was like this fear of like, and I think this is with anybody who's just really big with religion, like, if we experience these other emotions, it can kind of come off as we're not being grateful, or we don't have enough faith that these things will pass. But it's like, we can still lean into our emotions and still have faith and believe in God and have all these things going on. But like, we don't need to deny these emotions that the Lord created. Like, this is information, you know? And so like, the more we deny it, the more we get lost and disconnected. So
yeah, and it's also okay to ask for help. You know what I mean? And that's not saying that we're not still going to God. We're not still, making those connections, but we're still, we're just people. We're just human at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And so, I feel like therapy is an interesting space to be in. I'm happy that we're doing it, even though some days
our way.
We're making it our way. I love the creativity that it's kind of brought, you know what I mean? As an artistic person who's just kind of always into everything. I used to dance, used to do art, still do all of these things, but wasn't really figuring out like, how do I make it kind of go into my everyday? And I feel like that's kind of what's been the most fun for me, just being able to like express myself and also help other people express themselves too. And so I'm loving it here. I mean, I'm loving it here.
Yeah, me too. It's a blast.
We're having so much fun. I feel like, well, guys, one of our things is like really wanting to like open up the curtain, move the curtain back of like what being a therapist look like. And so y'all are definitely going to get more of it from here. Today's our first episode. And we just want to like open up and be, open about our experiences. But yeah, it's multifaceted. There's
multifaceted.
So many things happening because it's not just therapy, it's the politics too.
There's always politics.
Everything that comes with it. And those are the hard parts. Really, I just want to create a community and I want to be able to I love the community building. I want to be able to just, I love it.
Developing community.
Building bonds.
Being stronger together than apart.
Yes, and healing in community. Like, that's what I like. And also, like, the interesting parts of being, like, holistic therapist as well and being able to bring it. That's your zhuzh.
That's
100%.
my zhuzh.
And I love it.
And I feel like that kind of segues to, like, your second question about, like, the things that we're, like, enjoying now.
Let's chat about it.
And so right now, I don't think I've ever put myself in a box, but I'm just, like, enjoying all the different paths that I could go down. And so, like, I was just telling my sister yesterday, I think I want to become a nutritionist. And so, like, I'm trying to find that connection between therapy and nutrition because there is one, and there's a bunch of classes and courses that I can take. And so just, like, seeing, like, if I'm in the mindset and the space to do that, which I think I am, and just like I'm really grateful for Cindy because she's really gotten me moving my body, and so that's also a thing I'm really enjoying. So also because of Cindy, I have ClassPass. Sponsorship.
Hello?
So I literally already planned 4 classes for this week, and then I already
signed up for one of your classes too.
Which one?
I'm going with you on Friday, and of course we're doing yin on Tuesday.
Yes, which has become one of our practices, yin after work. Mm-hmm. But just like exploring the different things because I really want to feel connected, enjoy the movement while also taking care of my body, losing this weight. Having all the perks and benefits, but not feeling miserable and like it's a punishment.
Oh yeah. And I think for me, I've always loved movement. That's like a creative practice for me, like being able to connect my mind and body. And I love that form of therapy. I love like being able to like sit with myself, feel the day, like kind of like, I don't know, just let things like go. So I love that's what you're loving right now. And I do love having a little Pilates, and I do love having a little yin. I feel like, what am I loving right now? I have enjoyed getting more into like, I love beauty, but most recently, like the DIY beauty stuff that we've been looking into. Like Candress has kind of been teaching me more about like aromatherapy and scents and things like that. Which, shout out to my old roommate Camille. I did start learning about it from her. Like candles. She would buy a shit ton of candles for the house and all different types of stuff. And so I got into incense and stuff like that. Low key though, I hadn't been breathing. Like sometimes due to anxiety, just be holding my breath through the day. So I really wasn't like connecting into my senses.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't connecting to my senses. And so it's kind of been nice to kind of make me get out of my head and just like, bitch, what does this lemon smell like?
What am I really smelling?
What is really happening? Is it eucalyptus, a spearmint? So I'm kind of loving it. I'm loving layering, like getting into some stuff. Like recently someone gave me a little Mugler and I've been like spraying it with a little
luxury, opulence.
A little abundance, you know what I mean? So it's been nice to kind of get into that and luxuriate. Luxuriate and have a little moment of that and be able to take that with us everywhere.
You should. You deserve.
Yeah, I'm loving it. And I'm loving the movement too. It's like, the mind-body connection is really like going right now in both ways.
And what I love about our jobs, because we do have such creative freedom, right now. And so we're able to, the things that we're enjoying in our personal life and we're like able to see the benefits for, we can also expose and educate and provide to our girls.
In a down-to-earth way.
And our coworkers.
Low-key, our coworkers are getting the best of it too. Like in a down-to-earth way, in an accessible way, in a free way. You know, I love...
a free way.
Girl, I hate making people pay for shit. I hate making like young people pay for shit, like to be honest. And I'm like...
Unless it's a man.
Unless it's a man. And I really don't care what you're paying for. I really want to get into those pockets, but it's okay. It shows that you love me.
You're courting me. I deserve.
Yeah, I deserve. And like, you know, soft life only now. Come on now. So I feel like with specifically like the young girls, I love being able to like do different interesting projects. And so like, yeah, they've been getting exposed to all of our interests right now.
They have, and they've been sucking it up. They love it. They're little sponges. And then they're even coming up to us like, when's the next session?
Yeah.
When are we doing it? Where are the supplies?
What's next?
What's the agenda?
Okay.
Whoa, hold me accountable. You better.
Okay, because I said my word for this time right now was like consistency with them.
Ooh.
I did. I said consistency. So I'm like, okay.
It's showing up, babes.
Showing up and keep tapping into it. And not only that, but like keep showing up and being consistent with yourself. And so like, I'm super proud of us even like right now. Like this is a part of it. You know what I mean? Because I was ready to push the date back.
Let's do
I
that.
sure said.
I was in bed yesterday and I was like, let's just move it a little. Just nudge it over.
I'm not ready.
My tummy hurts.
All of a sudden I'm sick.
I'm having sleep paralysis. We gotta stop.
I was like, my Sunday's looking like recovery, bitch. I don't know.
Very much so.
Oh my God.
Send a text quick.
Hello. But we're here and we're holding ourselves accountable and
it's
consistent.
actually flowing, guys.
Yeah, we're having a good time.
I actually can't wait to listen.
I know.
The
it's a
one
party.
view.
Shout out to Kirsten, girl. At least we'll have
Shout out
two
to
because we know
Kirsten.
Kirsten's going to listen.
Also, my parents are going to listen to it and my sisters. So we got about 5.
We got a little community.
Yeah.
And share with your friends.
Share with your friends.
Okay. What's our next chatty chat point? Girl.
I don't know, but you know what? I kind of want to circle back to the point that you made about, like, you didn't say it outright, but just kind of how, like, we're able to kind of, like, heal those wounds and itch those scratch those itches. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Through, like, our positions and our jobs. And I heard Z-Way talk about that. She was like, you know, I don't do this for anybody else. I do it for me. She was like, you know, this makes me laugh. This is what I enjoy. And people just enjoy watching it as well.
Yes.
And I kind of feel that way with my position. Like, you know, obviously I'm here to help people.
Right,
but, like, it's also, like, helping me, too. Like, when I was in grad school, that's when I, like, actually realized, like, oh, something's afoot. Like,
Yikes.
Things are not perfect, and I have been exposed to certain things and made them normal, and it is not normal, and it's shown up in relationships and everything, and how I socialize and how I'm present in friendships, and maybe a little too present in friendships, and how I'm not being present for myself. And I was like, whoa.
That is actually really tea, though, because in grad school, I kept telling my friends who weren't seeing me for months, pretty much as I was just like in my own little hole. I was like, this practice that I'm in right now, this like grad school is zipping me out from the outside, dumping all my insides out, scrambling them up, and then putting them back. Exposed as hell, baby. I see my ribs. I was like, this. I was like, this is a different type of experience.
We're doing surgery.
Connect 4. I'm so confused. I was like, what is going on? Like, everything I knew, I feel like, was shaken up. Like, think of like a little snow globe, like, shook me up to the core. I was
shifted.
Like, everything. But I kind of loved that.
Girl,
like, the healing
I was shocked, like, stunned, and disturbed.
Girl, the healing was on, what is it like? What, you know, when the drive was just like, we sped up that channel, like, like everything is happening all at once. And then my supervisor at the time, oh my God, I loved him. Shout out to Dr. J. Wow.
Dr. J, what a cute name.
Dr. J, if you see this, you're still my favorite. So basically he had said like the first 5 years about being a therapist, low-key is all about you. And so I've kept that with me when it comes to my clients, when it comes to my practices. Low-key the business side now too, right? Like we're learning so much.
Yes.
Like, And nobody told us anything about that, and nobody told us how it was going to look like. So, like, even, like, through clients, like, I feel like I'm also kind of healing myself a little bit at the same time because I've seen so many different things that, like, reflected back to, like, parts of myself that I hadn't fully gotten through all the way yet. But it's like, okay, alongside each other, you don't know, but I know. We are healing, babes. So we are doing the work right now. Self-compassion, it's happening right now. Like, relationship, understanding, it's happening right now. Like, right now. So
yeah, I just saw a meme today because, you know, TikTok therapist that was saying, like, we need to let clients know, like, as a meme of, oh my gosh, where am I trying to go? Like, this metaphor of, like, for therapy, your client is on a mountain and you're on a mountain, and like you can see them, and that's kind of how you're directing them. But a lot of people think like therapists are on top of the mountain, like we've already conquered it. We are still climbing our own mountains, baby.
Yeah, we're
still living life too.
Things
like we have, like things have not been perfect. It's not rainbows and butterflies.
You know, and low key, that's the low key hard part about where we work sometimes, because when I come in, you know, I'll be having my little moves, like depending on what's going on, she may be up, she may be down, you know what I mean? Because I'm a person who deals with anxiety, like, diagnosed. And so it's like, when I'm in those spaces, sometimes I have to really, like, check myself. It was a little easier for me when I was at home, but now that we're, like, with everyone, it could be challenging because, like, we are definitely going through our own stuff.
Is our first caller?
First caller, but you can't come in. So sorry.
Today's about us.
Today's about us, and, you know, we'll have guests a little later, but it's not today. All right. Anyways, you know what I mean? But to be honest, like, in this moment, I am also prioritizing myself because I, like, I'm not talking to anybody for the next couple of hours. I had to get myself recentered. And so I feel like, you know, in order to do therapy, sometimes I have to do that as well. Like, honestly, like, it has been like, I need to do the practices. I need to be working out. I need to make sure I'm eating well. I need to make sure, you know, I look good. I feel good. I'm taking care of me because I have to show up for so many other people, not just family, not just friends, but clients too. And yes, if this past weekend, my life was looking like shit. I woke up and my face was pretty much on the floor. I had to figure out how to pick it up. Girl, get everything together and show up. Yeah. Not just for me, but them
we have
too.
To.
Yeah. And that's the hard part.
That's where we have to make sure. It's a disservice to our clients if we do not pay attention to our needs and create space and time for ourselves. It's a disservice.
It is a disservice. And that's the last thing I would ever want to be. But it's also crazy because we're balancing so much. Like,
we're juggling at this point. It's a circus, babes.
We are performing, babes.
Tootsie Pop, let me tell you.
Yeah.
The circus.
And we were doing all types of tricks.
Baby.
What?
That we didn't know our bodies were made for.
All of a sudden, she's on the balance beam every day. Woo, who would have thought?
With fire?
And that core has to be tight, babes, because we're experiencing all different...
That's where the Pilates comes in. We're training.
Helping us learn our balance and structure, have perfect form, because what?
Keep your toes
Life
pointed.
comes at you fast with the toes, babes. Because
yikes,
you're out for a ride. But yeah, it's very interesting, like, trying to be able to, like, do all of this and then still show up for yourself. But I am grateful, I think, at the end of the day, to be able to do it. And I think for me, like, I also went to school for Well, girl, why am I lying?
Why?
I wanted to go to school for journalism. I wanted it to be my minor.
Could you imagine if we popped up at the same school? Our paths were going to cross. Yeah. Some type of way.
Interesting how it has, but, like, yeah.
And so many commonalities. Like, this is crazy, guys. I don't think you guys realize. Wow.
Y'all don't really know.
Like, girl, let me sip my culture pop. Because the culture is popping.
A little zingy. Oh, we love it. I will say this is one of my favorite things right now. You know I'm obsessed with a little culture pop.
Right. That ties in.
I'm having a moment. But yeah, I think with me and Candress, like, you know, us being able to cross paths was really a godsend thing. Because, oh my gosh.
God's plan. We should talk about the origin story of how we met.
Okay, because
I want you guys to guess how long we've known each other. I'll give you about 5 seconds. It's over.
Okay.
So, we actually met in my interview.
Yes.
Which was in July of 2023.
Yeah.
And right now, it's already, what month is this?
What is this?
April?
March, babes.
March
like the 3rd or something.
Maybe March 3rd. 2024.
Happy Women's Appreciation Month.
Look.
Girl.
It all connects. It's kind of scary.
I got set. I'm telling you, like, it was a meant to be.
And so I was in the interview, literally cried in my interview. It's okay to cry at work, guys.
I didn't see that part, but to be honest,
and she came in, you know, she was running a little late. So she's
girl,
like,
I was late.
Let me gather myself together. And then we saw each other and she's like, I think I know you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe from we're in a support group because we need the support for LPCAs. And and so we saw each other and in that group, but I don't even know if we saw each other on the group. But
I saw you on the group though. I'm not even gonna lie.
I was posting, baby. I didn't know who to talk to.
Candress was posting.
I needed help.
Candress was posting.
Someone listening to me. I don't know what I'm doing.
Girl, I had to gather her ass. When she came out, I said, girl, ask me. I said, we're in this now. It's me and you.
I was posting on Anonymous after a while. I was like, too many people know.
I knew. I personally knew because I had answered a question one time. But like, that's how I knew you.
I have to go look in the archive.
I don't know what question it was and like, who told me I have the knowledge? But at the same time, I did answer it. And so when I saw her in the interview, I walked in, girl, I was disheveled. I was late. And our CEO was in town, girl. And I was like, why? I'm just like, what is really going on with me? But I was like, all right, hi.
And I was like, hi.
And she's already smiling and stuff. So we're already like connecting. Mm-hmm. And then like, okay, I was not there for much of any of the interview. I was really just like, I know you. I don't have any questions, but I know you. And then she said, hey girl. And then, you know,
we were like, say hey girl.
And then we were like, It was pretty much like an exchange and like nods low-key and like understanding. And then like when she was about to get hired, I said, yeah, go ahead. Y'all know you're gonna hire that girl. Hire her anyways. That's my friend. And now
that was the beginning. And now we see each other every day. And also we're neighbors.
We're neighbors. And that happened randomly too.
Yeah. So I had been living in an apartment for like 6 years and I was like, gotta go. You know, I'm going into a new tax bracket with this job. And so let me treat myself. And time was running a little thin. So I was like, let me get an apartment finder. And he found my apartment. And it was literally if I look out my window,
we can see each other's apartments. We meet on the corner. We take our little walks.
When I tell you things just like, I don't know. Do you believe in coincidences?
I believe in fate. Coincidences.
Yeah.
What's that other word? Shoot, I can't remember that one, and it's not going to come to me. Happenstance. There's another one, but I don't think I'm going to know it. It's over now. I believe in all of that, to be honest. And so, like, and I'm super grateful, you know what I mean, to make a friend like you and for us to be able to do this.
It was just so natural and so easy. I feel like I've known Cindy my entire life.
Yeah, and we chat like all the time.
And we just get it because we also are in the same work environment. So it's like what's understood doesn't need to be explained.
Girl, I will pass her in the office and we'll look at each other. All we have to do is like
one blink.
It's a blink. It's a it's a gurgle sometimes. It's like, it depends on where we're at. It's okay, I see you, friend. You know what I mean? But like, without you, girl, I probably would have drowned a long time ago. No offense. No side or anything. But just like, that's really like, you came in at a perfect time. A perfect time. So let's tell them like what it kind of takes to become a licensed professional counselor associate, because I realized we said LPC and they may not know what that is.
Yes. So the analogy I like to give people is kind of like when you're in med school and you're a doctor.
I like to tell people that too.
It's like residency, right? So right now we're in residency. Stop. We're learning so much, buddy. And so...
Yeah, we're in residency.
It's a long process. So you're going to go to grad school, and then after you're going to take the NCE, right, National Counselor Exam.
Yeah, I was about to say, I forgot about that.
And you could either do it before you graduate if you got what it takes.
I couldn't do it before I graduated at my school.
I think it depends on what type of school you go to.
Yes, it depends on the school.
I waited, baby, because I graduated. I waited 2 years.
I took mine. I waited, though. I waited a little bit. I didn't wait 2 years, but I think I graduated in like May, and then I didn't take my NCE until like November. So low key, like,
whoa,
I know, right? But I was like, if I don't take this right now, I'm gonna forget everything I learned. I don't know what's going on anymore. And actually, I had so much anxiety for that test. I literally, it was like I was drunk. I fell asleep during what is wrong with me? I fell asleep during my exam because I was so nervous.
You shut your mouth in front of the computer.
I was like taking little breaks because I got up. So here's a tip, guys. If you're going going in to go take your NC, yes, like go to sleep on time, but don't wake up so early to the fact that like by the time you're taking your test,
I pulled an all-nighter.
I went to bed. I was trying to be like remember the tax test or like state exams you took when you were in like grade school. I was like, okay, I want a good breakfast in the morning. Yeah. I want to go to sleep on time. They say
don't overstudy.
I overdid it in the morning. Like I had way too much time. So by the time I took my test, I was low-key tired. I ended up falling asleep mid-exam, waking up in anxiety and like trying to run through the questions. So don't do that because it is a 100-something question test.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many questions.
It's 300.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's long, guys. So it's like long, imagine.
And it's on a computer, and I know that it's not everybody's judge. And I pulled an all-nighter because I had not been studying, and I was like, I'm just gonna stay at my cute little job, be stagnant the rest of my life, and hopefully find hope at the end of the tunnel. And then I was like, no, girl, like you paid for this degree out of pocket yourself, so you might as well finish it. Yeah. And so I took the exam, and I don't think I really fully understood the process too. I wish there was a class in my grad school program of like what happened.
We didn't have that either.
It was like we graduated, and I didn't know what was
they
next.
Kicked us out the door,
and that's why I joined that group
for sure.
And I actually found out about that. Shout out to Jordan. When I was in my practicum, and she was telling me because she was an LPCA at the time, and she was like telling me, "Girl, you need to get in this group," because I was working with LPCAs and social workers. So me and her kind of binded together like Power Rangers, and she was like telling me this is the route that I need to go for support. So I appreciate her. Nice. And if it wasn't for like the little memes people were posting or what the next steps were, girl, I'd still be at my other little job just humming away.
Well, I'm glad you're not
into
there
the
anymore.
Abyss.
I'm glad you're not. To be honest, I know that you were comfortable there, but I'm glad you were kicked out. Sorry.
Comfort's not always good, guys.
It's not always good, and to
That's
grow.
How we get stuck.
And to be honest, like becoming unstuck is like one of my favorite things, like challenging yourself, trying to figure out like what's the next step. Mm-hmm. And for you, like growth was on the other side of like discomfort, honestly. And same thing for me. And so like, guys, yeah, that test is long, and then you kind of wait and you have to go through. I want to get, maybe we should do a
And the security was kind of like crazy. Like you have to put your stuff in like
safe
a
boxes.
Locker and stuff.
Can't
and then they like
phone,
check you. They check your hair because people be cheating, baby. Yeah. And it's never been that serious.
Well, people cheated at my school, which is why we weren't able to take the test earlier. That was the gag. Yeah, which I was like, what the hell? What does it do with me? I didn't cheat, but because of them, we couldn't take our test earlier.
Whoa.
Yeah, such an experience. But then after that, you pretty much send in your scores, and then you gotta also like
with
send
a bunch
in
of
transcripts,
other paperwork,
your
fingerprints.
Oh my god, the fingerprints had me messed up.
The costs are costing.
It gets expensive, and that's another part of this process. I don't think a lot of people talk about the expense
and the time. Really,
yeah,
because you could send everything
and your time is expensive,
and there's other moving parts, so you're just sitting twiddling your thumbs.
You may not have a job. I suggest have a job while you're doing these things.
Yeah,
something that feels like transitionary at least, or even like that feels stable, you know, because it's one of those things like you put so much money into and it still takes time, right? You're still waiting. I mean, it took me about a month after everything to finally get fully licensed. I'm not fully licensed, but to finally get licensed, which I didn't get licensed until February. So like I waited a little bit once I got my scores because I was like exhausted from the entire experience of taking a test, number one.
I needed a nap. Yeah.
I needed a nap. So I hit pause. I don't think I set my stuff in to like end of December, January. And then I didn't really become licensed until February. And then that's kind of when I transitioned later on that summer to my first therapist job.
Yeah. And so then you have to find a supervisor.
Correct.
And then basically to like fast forward the whole process, then you have to have at least 18 months of supervised hours. And it has to be 3,000 hours. And then you submit that again. And then once you submit it to kind of drop the A and just become a licensed professional counselor, which means you won't have to do supervision or pay those fees anymore.
Yeah, as many restrictions at least.
And then maybe come into a little bit more money. That's supposed to happen really quick.
Which part, Candress?
After you like do all the work and you submit it to like upgrade to
upgrade. Yeah.
Some people get upgraded literally later that day.
Yeah.
Or like a couple days.
And finally, it doesn't cost. That's the free part of everything.
You're free, and now you can keep your money in your pocket.
You keep a little bit of money in your pocket. You do have to get like CEUs after you become licensed, but I'm really not there yet. So I don't know what that part looks like quite yet, but it's continuous. And I think like when you are able to drop the A, more opportunities come. You're able to travel a little bit more, do some remote stuff, get into corporate corporate. I mean, to be honest, that's the part that I like.
Environment.
And you can shift a little bit easier.
Because you're not so worried about them hours, because those hours can look like anything now, not just direct and indirect. So you kind of get to leave that box.
Yeah, the box is gone pretty much. Now you get to kind of create what you want to do. I think for some people, they still may find themselves in a box, and the box to me kind of looks like just private practice. Like that's one avenue, but you can go into academia if you're interested. You can do what we're doing, which is like we're having a podcast right now, just talking about our experiences. You can get into community-focused stuff. You can go into a nonprofit. I mean, you can do private practice and something else as well. You can work in hospitals. I mean, there are lots of options, honestly, but then sometimes it also feels limited. And I think we'll talk more about that in the future, about like how everything on this side really looks like.
Yeah. So much to talk about.
So much to talk about. So much to see. So
Girl,
much to
I'm looking at this little time.
Is there a timer on there? Oh.
So the time, a little segue. So we are going to make social media because this is the time. And so we will, it'll probably just be see something, say something, pod or something like that. And so, you know, connect with us, because I think it would be really cute if there was a portion of us just interacting with our audience and answering questions and just sharing our perspective. I
agree. I think for us guys, like, it's going to be really interesting to build our See Something, Say Something podcast community.
I know.
Like, who's here? Who's listening? What are y'all into?
You guys are going to be our little seeds.
You know what I mean? And then y'all will bloom as we pod. I don't know. But I feel like bloom as we pod. That's cute. That's cute.
Oh my gosh.
That's cute. Is that it? Girl, is that
it? Plants.
Oh, pink room.
This is wild.
Growth.
Literally, my twists are about to unravel. I just can't. I'm shook at.
Speaking of, Candress did her own hair, and so did I.
Did we also mention we're self-sufficient?
We're self-sufficient DIY girls, and we love a good beauty.
Get into it.
Get into it.
The hairs.
The things. Loving it.
Women's Appreciation
Appreciation Month, though. And you know that low-key, it's like one of my favorite months, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, yes,
Never
Valentine's
even paid
Day.
Attention.
What? You know I love a good sisterhood. You know I love women. Okay, and let's talk about that, Candress. Yeah,
I don't think we have time. We'll see you in our next podcast.
All right, guys, we loved this moment. So good to see y'all. Well, we didn't see y'all, but so good to chat with y'all.
Glad you could see us.
Glad you can see us.
Good to be seen.
And good to be heard. And I'm looking forward to being able to do more like this with Candress.
There's so much more to come with Cindy.
And there's so much more for See Something, Say Something podcast. We'll see you next time.
See you next time, over and out.
Bye.
Bye.